Hello there guys, what is going on? Son of Chelsea back here again for another edition of my team selector ahead of the game away to Krasnodar tomorrow night in the Champions League. It's a big game, an important game obviously in the Champions League group stage. Chance for Chelsea to get their first win on the board in the group stage after the draw with Sevilla last week. And as well, looking at the previous two games of defensive improvement of 2 clean sheets, those positives that we can take away from the previous 2 games. Now we want to see Chelsea attack well again. Get that balance right, be good defensively, but also be creative in front of goal, which is what we've lacked in the previous 2 games. Also, the question marks over sort of what Lampard's team selection will look like, because there could be rotation based on it being a midweek game, based on it being against opposition that you don't expect are sort of the toughest opposition. But then there is that risk if you make too many changes of Chelsea underperforming, lacking chemistry, and potentially slipping up in what is a key game in the group stage. But before we get into my team selector, predicted lineup, all that good stuff, I want to ask you guys, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Also hit the like button if you're enjoying the content, because it helps out the channel as well. So team news, Thiago Silva hasn't travelled with the first team squad to Russia, which is a surprise considering the importance of the game. But I think we expected that Thiago Silva, when he signed, was going to be one of these players that Frank Lampard would have to manage well based on his age. And I think that makes sense. But then the question is posed, who plays in that defence? Who plays in that centre-back sort of partnership, whatever it is, whether it's a 3 or a 2, or if Kurt Zouma's playing, who plays alongside him? This is something that's been interesting, and as well with Antonio Rudiger potentially getting a chance back in the first team, we could see that tomorrow night. So we'll get into that in terms of my team selector. Kepa still injured, and Marcos Alonso still suspended. So looking at Krasnodar, Chelsea and Krasnodar have never played each other in any competition before. Krasnodar were only founded 12 years ago in 2008. The Bulls qualified for the Champions League through the qualifying rounds after finishing 3rd in the Russian Premier League last season. They play with a 4-4-1-1 formation, but can switch to a 4-3-3 like they did at the weekend. They're currently 8th in the Russian Premier League, losing their last game 3-1 to Spartak Moscow and drawing their opening group game last week to Rennes 1-1. I probably expect them to repeat what they did against Rennes, that 4-4-1-1 formation, sitting deep, low block, trying to frustrate Chelsea, capitalise on transition and probably at set pieces too, looking to make it a physical game, and that's where Chelsea have to be on top form to get the result, because I do expect Chelsea to have a lot of the ball tomorrow night, but it's on our creativity and vision to get through that low block, as we've seen in the past with Chelsea struggling to get through deep line defences. But going into Chelsea and sort of our creativity needing to improve moving forward after those 2 clean sheets. I mean, Chelsea recorded their lowest XG under Frank Lampard in the previous 2 games. And then, as I spoke about at the start, rotation. How much rotation will there be? Because we know the rapid rate of games. We know that you can't play the same 11 over and over again. But as we've been speaking about, especially defensively, keeping that cohesion and chemistry is very important. And especially with new players bedding in, you want those players to find their feet at Chelsea and get that chemistry with, say, fellow attackers, fellow midfielders, all that stuff. So I think it's an interesting sort of balancing act for Frank Lampard, and balance has been a key issue. But going into my team, it's going to be a 4-2-3-1. I think Frank will revert back to that 4-2-3-1 formation rather than the 3-4-3 he used at the weekend. I just don't think that's a long-term formation for Chelsea. I saw some people calling for it, and the stat is, under Frank Lampard, Chelsea have not won consecutive games with the 3-4-3. I know that wasn't possible because we drew on Saturday, but I think it just proves that the 3-4-3 for me isn't going to get the best out of our players in the long term. I just don't think it's a sustainable formation. I think it's a good formation in certain games to maybe nullify opposition. I think the 4-2-3-1 will be the predominant formation that Frank Lampard uses once again. So for me, Edouard Mendy in goal. He's keeping a clean sheets at the moment, so I think he'll stay. There'll be no rotation in this area. Back 4, I think Reece James will start. I think he's had some really strong performances against Sevilla and Man United. I'd like to see him start on the right, and hopefully we could capitalise on one of his crosses, because I think he's going to be important, especially against a low block, trying to use the width of the pitch. So I think Reece James will be starting at right back. Back 2, this is the big thing. It's hard. My preference would be Kurt Zouma and Fikayo Tomori, because I think that is the best centre-back partnership we have behind Kurt Zouma and Thiago Silva, with Silva not available. but I'm leaning in the direction of Antonio Rudiger returning because of all the news and rumours recently. It's really hard to pick between those two. I think realistically, I wouldn't be stunned if Antonio Rudiger starts tomorrow night alongside Kurt Zouma. So that's what I'm going to pick, because I just think there's been noise recently, and what the reaction to that is going to be. If Rudiger does start, it's a massive opportunity for Rudiger to make an impression. I think because he's a senior defender at the club, I think this is a great opportunity for him to make an impression. I don't think whatever happens tomorrow night, I don't think he'll be starting the game at the weekend, because if Thiago Silva and Kurt Zouma are ready to go on Saturday against Burnley, I think Frank will revert back to that defence again. But it's a good opportunity for Rudiger to get some minutes. You know, asking the question, where are these fringe players going to get minutes? Well, tomorrow night is a great opportunity for Antonio Rudiger potentially in a back four. Left back is going to be Ben Chilwell. He's, I think for a lot of people, been our sort of player of the season so far. He's fit in so well. So for me, once again, no rotation here. Ben Chilwell should be starting this game. Midfield to the pivot, I'm going to rest N'Golo Kante. I think this is a game you should be resting him for. And also, based on Chelsea looking to be more creative and progressive, I'm going to bring back Mateo Kovacic and start him alongside Jorginho. Hopefully, Kova can bring that more incisive and daring passes that we want to see in a game like this. So I'd like to see Kova start this game, resting Kante, especially for the weekend against Burnley. The three behind the striker, I want to see Hakim Ziyech given his first full start under Frank Lampard. I think this is a great opportunity to do it. Lampard did comment after the Man United game that Ziyech is getting very close to starting a game, and I just think this is the perfect opportunity to give him that start. And potentially in a game like this where Chelsea, you expect, are going to have a lot of the ball, he can potentially create something, get on the ball potentially on that right side with Reece James cutting in onto that left foot and potentially causing havoc for the Krasnodar defence. Number 10 for me, for the first time this season, is going to be Mason Mount. I think Kai could potentially be rested in this game or come off the bench. Of course, he's travelled with the squad. But I think Mason in a more central area. We saw that against West Brom earlier this season where he scored that goal that helped spark the comeback in that game. I want to see Mason. If Mason's going to come back into the team, I want to see him in a central area here. Frank's got the opportunity to play Mason in a more central position, so I'd like to see that. Left wing for me is going to be Callum Hudson-Odoi. Another one of these players I think falls into the same category as Antonio Rudiger. Really got to take his opportunity when he gets minutes here, because at the moment you see Christian Pulisic, who's coming back into full fitness, and all the players in that area. It's so tough to get consistent minutes, and Callum, if he does start tomorrow night, needs to take that opportunity. He needs to either set up a goal, have a strong performance, show to Frank Lampard he should be getting more minutes on a regular basis. So I want to see Callum start. Up top, I also think this is a 50-50 split for me. I think I'm going to lean in the direction of Timo Werner, because I still think this is such an important game, and I think Timo, once again, you want to get him firing, getting those goals, getting those chances against an opposition. Hopefully he'll find that space, but I wouldn't be stunned if either Olivier Giroud or Tammy Abraham. I think I'll lean in the direction of Tammy Abraham being sort of second choice here, and being the striker who's more likely to start ahead of Timo Werner, because of course Tammy came off the bench the other night against Man United. But I'm still going to play Werner. That is my team selector for the game tomorrow night. Please let me know your lineups for the game tomorrow in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch this video. If you did enjoy it, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Follow me on Twitter @SonOfChelsea, and I'll see you again.